First of all, I have to say it's only by the grace of God that I was not seriously hurt when I filmed that. I'm going to show you the entire video of this from two different camera angles and show you just how close I came to being seriously hurt, losing all my fingers or possibly a hand in this accident. This, for obvious reasons, is a difficult video for me to make. It's actually taken me several days to get to this, and several hours before I could even watch the footage. So with that said, I'm also going to show you what went wrong, tell you what went wrong, show you how to prevent it, and I'm also going to talk about 3 different ways that you can try and minimize accidents in your shop. So what exactly happened to cause this huge explosion? Well, I watched the video over and over again and I couldn't tell because it happened so quickly. 1 second the guitar was there, the next second it was gone. I actually had to go frame by frame and make a photograph of each frame just so I could slow it down enough to see what happened. All that happened is it started to get a grip on this block and started twisting it around. But instead of turning the guitar like this, it actually pulled it forward. But you can see in the stills how it yanked everything forward. Now fortunately, I wasn't holding on to the guitar like this. If I was, my hand would have been pulled right into the saw blade. And if I was like this, it probably would have got all 4 fingers, just based on the thickness of the cut that I was doing. So luckily I had my hands back far enough that when this happened, it didn't actually hurt me. I've made this cut dozens of times, so I wasn't worried about what I was doing. I've always had success. I've never had anything break. So I wasn't thinking that something would happen this time. Now I have learned that that's a possibility, obviously. So I'm going to totally do things different, and it's a very simple fix. All I have to do is take a scrap piece of plywood and clamp it to this board here, just like that, and now the saw, there's no way the saw can pull that down, creating that compression effect that broke that last guitar. So from now on, that's how these get cut. I think most accidents that happen in the shop are created because of one of 3 different reasons. The first reason is stupidity. Either you don't know your tool well enough, you don't understand what you're trying to do, and you push your tools past their limit, and things like this happen. If you remember the show Tool Time with Tim Taylor and Al and all that, they actually very subtly and with a lot of humor showed us basic safety tips in that show. I remember one show where Al was working on something, Tim walked in front of him in the camera and started talking to the camera, and suddenly Tim's shirt gets ripped off his body. Well, that was hilarious for a TV show, but that's exactly how things happen in the shop. Unfortunately, we don't have a prop department to give us tearaway clothing. We get sucked into the machines and we lose a hand or we get cut. So we have to be aware of what's around us. We don't want loose clothing, we don't want hair hanging down, we don't want sleeves that are loose that can get caught in machinery. We have to be very careful of that, and we have to understand our machinery. The second reason is that we get in too much of a hurry, like I was the other day. I was trying to rush a video into production, so I wasn't paying attention to every single detail and wasn't thinking about what may or may not happen. So I didn't take the necessary steps to prevent this accident. Slow down and think and ask yourself a couple of questions. What am I trying to do? What might go wrong? How can I prevent this from going wrong? And just be safe. The third reason for accidents happening in the shop, I think, is because we get tired and we stop paying attention to detail. We lose our focus, we lose our concentration, and things just wander and we do silly things that cause accidents like this. In my case, I was not tired. I was not stressed out. I had just started filming about 15 minutes before that. Hey guys, welcome to the shop. Today I'm going to be ball sanding. Yeah. So fatigue just wasn't a factor. But let me tell you a story about when I was 17 years old. My parents were just finishing building a house, and I was helping my dad cut molding for around the house. All we had left to do was some trim molding in the kitchen. And so we were out in the garage. I was holding one end of the piece. My dad was at a miter saw cutting these pieces to different angles. And I think he just lost his concentration for a moment there, getting near the end of the day, got tired, and he put his hand under the saw and actually nearly chopped his arm right off. The saw blade went halfway through his arm. And as a 17-year-old, the biggest thing that I remember is the blood just squirting across the room, and I could track it with my eyes. It went across the floor and up the wall. And in that moment, I wasn't thinking that my dad cut himself. I was just mesmerized by this blood trail. And right after that instinct kicked in, I grabbed my dad, wrapped a towel around his hand, and I drove him to the hospital, and thankfully he's okay as well. Doesn't quite have all the movement in his hand, but that's what happens when you lose concentration or you lose focus. Accidents happen just like that. And it's always when you don't expect it. You think you're doing the right thing, but they happen. I hope this didn't bring people down too much. I just wanted you to understand the dangers of woodworking. This is not a safe and secure hobby. You have to be diligent. You have to be observing what you're doing. You have to be cautious. You have to be safe. You have to wear your safety gear at all times. Now, I'm not saying that you have to wear steel-toed boots when all you're doing is walking around the shop, and you definitely don't need to wear a respirator if you're not sanding or painting and things like that. Wear the appropriate equipment at the appropriate time. So here's the first camera view, the continuation of what you've already seen, and then right after that I'm going to show you the view that I had from a GoPro on my head, so you can actually see what I saw as this happened. So the moral of the story is quite simple. Stay safe, think your way through things, do everything that you can to prevent an accident. And trust me, accidents will happen. That's why they're accidents. Sometimes we don't see what's coming. But that's why you have safety gear. That's why you wear your glasses. That's why you wear ear protection. That's why you wear your steel-toed boots and your hard hat and all that kind of stuff. It's so when things happen that you can't predict, you are protected as much as possible. Stay safe, everybody. I will see you on Monday.